Today we are talking AI corporate readiness. And before we dig deep into the topic, you are getting a lot for free today. You will get two mind maps. One is an exhaustive level mind map and one is a high level mind map. Both break down the topics of corporate AI readiness and a UAE case study. Now, more importantly, you're gonna get a full-fledged corporate AI readiness manual, and you will have a detailed report on the UAE case study I will cover in this video. But the most important giveaway today is a corporate AI readiness self-assessment checklist. Now, this checklist and everything I am giving you today for free works if you are a small business owner, if you work for a mega corporation and you want to check this for your whole corporation, or maybe only for your department or for your region. This is scalable to wherever you operate. And I'm giving you all of that for free, so do not worry about it. Even for the self-assessment checklist, I am giving it to you with the artifact from Claude and the HTML coded page that you can change yourself. So it's kind of open source. You can remove the branding, you can make it your own, you can improve it or pivot it maybe closer to the type of business you work at. That all doesn't matter if you don't stick with me in this episode and allow me the privilege of taking you through the topic of corporate AI readiness, where I break it down high level for you to understand the concept and why it is so important that we're talking about it. And then maybe we look at a really unique case study, government level case study. Today I'm gonna talk about the United Arab Emirates when it comes to AI. It's the country I love and I live at, and I think it's a unique case study compared to the big players, big giants in the world of AI globally like the US and China. And it is a specimen and a success story, I believe, or a potential huge success story in the future that we need to look at closely, learn from, and maybe follow pace. And today I'm gonna do it again differently. I will not take you through a mind map. I think mind maps are maybe good for an individual like myself when I'm trying to learn or absorb something, but maybe the old-fashioned slides are better to do and explain these concepts through my videos. So if you have an idea, a strong idea about that, write me a comment in the comment section. So this is less technical than I usually do, but I think this is an important topic. I'm a corporate person, and I think this is really necessary for all of us to understand the concept of corporate AI readiness and really digest it well and maybe bring it to our work or corporate or team or small business or whatever the place we think about AI being part of in the future. And with this, do not forget to hit that like button and the subscribe button if you enjoy my content and if you enjoy this episode. And with this, and without any further ado, let's get started.
Subscribe to Daddy's channel, The Mic.
Okay, so as I said, today we're going to go through corporate AI readiness, frameworks, and the UAE case study. Now, this is really building the foundation for AI. Today, when I look around me on LinkedIn, online, people talking about AI as part of business, I think there's a little bit of chaos when it comes to the hype and the high pace in terms of speed that AI is moving. Corporates or businesses, they're playing catch up. They just want to drop something around AI. They want to report to their executives that we are utilizing AI for efficiency because there's a lot of hype around it and people are not taking a stance just to digest the concept of AI and AI adoption. What does that really mean? And how do you really prepare things within a corporate or an organization or even a small business for you to really adopt AI the right way and making it a long-term strategic plan type of thing rather than just a mere activity you're doing today. And that's why here I say this is building the foundation for AI-driven transformation. So all of this is part of that digital transformation companies talk about. Now we just made it crazier with artificial intelligence as part of the pieces of the puzzle you need to figure out as you do those transformations. So today I will get you to understand what corporate AI readiness is, what are the 5 pillars that I digested and came out with as a framework for corporate AI readiness. Now, there's so many frameworks out there that we'll talk about, but I will give you one that basically is somewhere in the middle of all of them. And then we're going to talk about the implementation roadmap, and we're going to look at the UAE case study. And after the case study, I will take you to the self-assessment checklist, which is the most exciting part. This is an interactive checklist. It's not your normal checklist that you can go through. I'll show you how it works so you can use it yourself. You can go through it, fill up the assessment for your corporate, department, function, region, country, whatever you need. And then you will get recommendations off the bat from that checklist. Once you fill it, it will tell you, hey, you need to work on these areas. This is your next step of action. So it is smart, it is interactive, and it's open. So you can even improve it and change it. And if you do that, write me a comment in the comment section. I would like to see what you did with such a checklist on your own. Okay, so with this, let's get started with the important and interesting stuff that I think will differentiate certain people, definitely businesses, going forward into the future, to how they perform when they're adopting and taking in artificial intelligence as the new norm when it comes to the technologies we leverage and use in our business for efficiency and performance. Okay, so what is AI readiness? What does that mean that your company or corporate is AI ready? It is basically your ability, your capacity as a team, as an organization, as a small business to adopt, integrate, and generate value from AI. AI has lots of value, but your ability to do and generate that value is something that we want to address here. And also, it's very important to understand that AI readiness, it's not just getting the best and most expensive AI application, slapping it to the business and getting a result. It involves the quality of data that you maintain and that you generate in your organization and how you capture it even. It also involves the skill that you have within your organization. You still need certain type of humans to drive the best AI for your business. Not anyone can really get the best out of artificial intelligence, at least for today. You need that specific skill, or you need to grow that skill within your organization or business. And finally, you definitely need robust processes around artificial intelligence, and you need leadership support. This is one of the things where it doesn't happen bottom up. It has to be top down. It has to be a commitment from the top management that they flow downwards within their organization to ensure that everyone is on board, ready and gauged to be able to adopt AI into that business or organization for best outcomes and results. And fundamentally, as I said in the beginning, it's not a one-time IT activity or technical activity. It's not a one-time thing. This is a process. This is a long-term strategic change that involves a change within the DNA of the organization to be able to be part of that future where, honestly, from what we see all around us, AI will be part of nearly every aspect of doing business in the new corporate world that will be reshaped by artificial intelligence. Now, there's so many frameworks out there to handle corporate readiness for artificial intelligence. And usually it's from the big players, especially the consulting firms. And the top ones that I think are helpful to really know about and maybe dig deeper into after watching this video are starting with McKinsey, which is having the 8-pillar framework: strategy, data, technology, people, culture, processes, governance, and ethics. Now, it all revolves around the same things, but you're going to see it in a different kind of angle or a different kind of approach or a sequence. Each of these kind of entities are creating the frameworks to do or to perform. Then we have Gartner with their 3 areas framework for AI readiness, which tackles data infrastructure, skills and leadership, business alignment. So they simplified it, they made it really around just 3 areas you need to tackle. We have Microsoft also here, which is again a big player in the AI space, and they talk about strategy, culture, capabilities, and operations. So they cover 4 verticals within their framework. And lastly but not least, MIT, and they talk about leadership, culture, strategy, data, technology, process, and talent. Now, I use AI every day, so no surprise there. I looked into these pillars and I asked AI if I want to give somewhere in between all of those that I can share with my audience to make their life easier. And it could be one way of getting the best out of this framework and just using it for themselves, and at least offering them as an alternative option. What would those within that framework be? And this is what I will take you through. I actually liked it. I did some tweaking to those pillars, but I think this is an easier, cleaner, more chronologically sequenced framework that I think could be interesting to you. And that's what we're going to go through. But again, remember, all of them revolve around the same ideas. It's just how you actually take action, regardless of the framework you decide to adopt eventually. This is just giving you an insight to things you can consider as you drive your way to your organization or department or corporate towards AI readiness. So now I will introduce you to my 5 pillars framework for corporate AI readiness, with the help of AI, obviously. And we will look into each of them separately as we go through the whole topic and understand it. So just I'll list them now and then we'll go after them one by one. So the first one is strategy and leadership. In my mind, everything starts at the top. What is the strategy and what is the leadership commitment and support towards AI readiness in the business that I'm part of? And then data and technology infrastructure. At the end of the day, artificial intelligence is something that stands on top of certain infrastructure. It consumes data and it gives us intelligence based on data. So unless we figure out the technical part of it, we cannot move forward with really good quality artificial intelligence within our organization. So we do need the geeks like me in these corporates, and we do need our IT people to actually pick up their game and take it to a different level for us to adopt artificial intelligence. And then we need talent and skill. We definitely need unique skills with our wider corporate community in that business to have new, refreshed, different type of mindset and skills that will help them enable the use of artificial intelligence. Because for the most part, yes, things might happen autonomously in the AI world, but in many areas, success will be critically linked to how people, in terms of talent and skill, address those tools or leverage that technology to make the business more efficient and better. And I get it that this third one is where things get a little bit tricky with people, because there's so many different ideas from people or opinions. Some people say AI will replace humans. Some people say AI will enable humans. I don't think anyone really knows. From what I see, I think it will generate much more value in terms of humans will always be needed in corporate for the most part. If you reskill yourself, if you maintain your knowledge and know-how when it comes to artificial intelligence, I think you'll always have a place. But humans in that equation will generate 10x, 100x more value than they do today, enabled by artificial intelligence. This, in concept, in theory, should bring lots of value within our economies, hopefully. I mean, maybe I am just a naive, positive person, but at least maybe this is wishful thinking, but the promise of artificial intelligence as a technology should be revolving around that kind of 10 and 100-fold increase in value that's generated by people, which ultimately should be better for everyone, okay? And then there's governance and ethics. So how do you manage this whole new thing that you're getting into as a corporate? You're getting artificial intelligence, it's a new technology. You're getting lots of data that's going through and out and coming from models. How do you really manage and govern that? Are there rules and regulations you need to enforce within the corporate to make sure things are happening right? What do you need to do around ethics and how people might use and maybe abuse artificial intelligence within that environment? So all of these things should be really as a cornerstone of every corporate's approach to artificial intelligence. You need to handle it with governance and you need to do it ethically. And last but not least, and this is maybe again the part that I already talked to around the talent and how people are looking at artificial intelligence, how do you really address the culture and the change management within the organization? It will be a big change. And you need your people to be part of that change and not just simply be on the receiving part of these changes. You need to manage the change and the culture within your organization to rally people around it, around that transformation, so the whole organization moves together from point A to point B, where enablement of artificial intelligence is an accepted idea and people are ready to deal with it and benefit from it. So let's start with the strategy and leadership. You definitely need a clear roadmap aligned with the business goals that you have. So why do you want to use artificial intelligence? Where do you want to start and where do you want to end? What's the value chain? How will artificial intelligence, this has to be a very clear idea, at least to the leadership team, and they need to propagate it across the organization. Essentially, if the business wants to achieve certain goals, they have to know clearly how artificial intelligence will contribute to getting to these goals faster and maybe do them better. So that has to be a clear and vivid link to the leadership team first, but later to the whole organization. Now, the second part, you need sponsorship. These things are expensive. These things need advocacy because some people will challenge that out of fear, out of skepticism, regardless of the reason. You need strong and solid sponsorship for this transformation within the organization. But also, you need AI leadership. You need people who can talk to artificial intelligence, its benefits, its added value to the customer, its added value to the employee, its added value to the market and the economy. You need that AI dedicated leadership. You need people dedicated to driving this project, this transformation, which will be part of the norm today and in the future within that organization or business. Now, for a small business, it could be you. Your small business, you're driving that kind of advocacy and sponsorship with your small team. But that is more and more important as the corporate size is bigger that you are handling or you're part of when you drive really the AI readiness concept. Now, after that, you do need a solid business case. And what do I mean by a business case is what is the problem or the pain that artificial intelligence will solve or the pain that it will remove, and how it will do that, and what it will yield if we invest that amount of money, and how much money it will actually demand from that company or corporate. So all of these questions, they seem standard. They need a really solid case behind it. Lots of numbers, lots of logic, lots of questioning and critical thinking. But you need that business case. And then you need to come up with a pilot. You need to give that leadership, hey, by the way, this is the business case. This is what we're going to do. And we're going to start with this. AI, it could be a low-hanging fruit type of thing within the corporate. We can get this type of artificial intelligence technology. It will do 1, 2, 3. It will generate this value. It will have a return on investment in this period of time. And this is how we're gonna run this pilot project, or maybe select a pilot project, because usually for bigger corporates, you're gonna probably have tens of pilots being suggested from each corner of the corporate. But also at the heart of these pilots or projects or ideas that you want to push forward, you need a clear conversation and a clear decision of how do you measure the success of artificial intelligence in your organization? What are the KPIs that you will use to, at the end of it, say, you know what, AI definitely is something that we want to drive more of in this area or less of in that area. So you need a clear way to measure success when it comes to adopting something new like artificial intelligence. There's so many ways to do that depending on the nature of your business. You'll have to decide for yourself. Some of the frameworks, if you dig deep into them, or if you're a corporate that is at a financial level where you can afford actually working with some of these companies or consultants that bring those pillars to bear within that corporate, well, they can guide you through the process of definitively deciding on the KPI that you require to measure the success of this project or transformation within your organization. But the interesting fact I wanted to end this pillar with is that in one of the surveys, they found out that 97% of companies, they say, we have an AI strategy. So everyone talks the talk, but not everyone walks the walk. And only 27% of these corporates actually give those strategies a priority in funding. These things, I get it, are expensive, but if you're serious about artificial intelligence, this is why we start with sponsorship and leadership. You need to put your money where your mouth is when it comes to AI, because this is super fast and it's moving in light speed. You can blink once, blink twice, you will find yourself behind, and others who adopted artificial intelligence are already ahead. And I think AI will prove once and for all that time is of essence. Okay, the second part is data and technology infrastructure. So When you are looking at adopting AI or being ready to adopt AI within your organization, you need to really look at your infrastructure closely and the systems managing that infrastructure. So you need to look at the data quality, the governance and accessibility of data. In some companies, corporates, accessing the data that is already there is by itself a challenge. Some companies, they have the data, they have the access for the data, but it's bad quality data. Data that never really gave value to humans that were managing it through dashboards, but they did it because it's there and they never questioned it. But today, if you want to offer that data to your artificial intelligence system and get your intelligence out of those systems, then you have to ensure that this is high quality or fairly good quality data before you actually adopt artificial intelligence. Garbage in, garbage out. That's a well-known rule in the past and it still persists today. So you need to break down the silos with centralized data lakes. In many companies, especially the bigger ones, smaller ones might not have this as a big issue or a challenge, but corporates, big corporates usually, they have kind of a silos of data. Different departments, different business units, maybe different systems that were acquired long back, all generation technologies that have their own databases, and it could be scattered, uncommunicative, unlinked database structures that are not really well designed and engineered to integrate with a bigger data lake type of structure. And those are again things we need to start fixing today before we go really further in discussing artificial intelligence readiness and adoption within any organization. If you're a smaller one, probably you're more agile, you don't have these problems, but it's good as you grow your business is to have this also in mind, to grow it in a manner that you future-proof your organization and your technology and your infrastructure to always be ready to adopt more and more applications when it comes to artificial intelligence. Also, you will not forget privacy and security compliance. If you are handling information which is by laws, private information for individuals, for customers, you need to understand these laws and you need to design your systems and your infrastructure in a way that you always can manage, prove, and deliver on ensuring that, at least for the most part, you did everything necessary to be done to ensure the privacy and security of your information. That is an area that is a no joke. And I think cybersecurity in general, privacy and security will be one of the biggest topics and biggest money makers, by the way, in the world of artificial intelligence. And then we have to think about computing infrastructure. Do you run your systems on the cloud? Do you run your systems on premise? These are technical yet financial decisions and even security decisions that the corporate have to discuss and debate and then make decisions about. It could be a hybrid kind of situation where some of it is on premise, some of it is on the cloud, but you'll have to think about it depending on your needs, your requirements, your demands for the business to run which type of AI system that you require. Now, machine learning ops and model deployment is a point that I kept in here, I added, because I believe AI with time will be more and more accessible to more businesses. And when I say AI, I'm not talking about simply ChatGPT as a model or maybe Gemini as a model. Probably companies will adopt further and further open source models that they will either retrain, fine-tune, or modify to their unique business needs. So at some point, I believe every company, every business, small, medium, or huge corporate level will require their own machine learning operations. You need your people who are understanding the business and who are capable of feeding good quality information to these AI models and train them for the unique needs of your organization. So at some point, I genuinely believe that each company will have their own ML ops that is training their own version of models to serve their customers as individuals or businesses. Now, the third pillar, and it's an important one, and it's one that I'm passionate to talk about, it's talent and skills within that organization. And I started with an area which not every business maybe is thinking of today. So if you're a kind of business that never needed technical specialists within that organization or business, like data scientists, machine learning engineers, or data engineers, you will have to give it a second thought. Again, depending on the business and the size of it and the industry that it serves. But at some point, I think each business will need some kind of technical expertise within that organization. You will need it, you cannot miss it. You can do it by one person who's a specialist who can do moderately things across the board, or a whole organization and department that revolves around technical people with all these different skill sets of data scientists, machine learning, artificial intelligence engineer, data engineers, and so forth. Now, the second thing, and we touched on it in the concept of change management, you need organization-wide AI literacy. When I talk to people think they know AI because they know ChatGPT. I do not believe this will cut it in the future. You need further AI literacy. You need people to understand more the technology that they're dealing with, the technology that is enabling them to do so great things. They need to understand it, and they need to know how to maximize its effects in supporting their efforts. And that doesn't come just by using ChatGPT. You're going to have to establish organization-wise AI literacy or some kind of education programs. And then linked to that, with each organization, you have different levels of skill sets. You have people who are more technical, less to the business side. You have people working really deeply into the business side, but way technical. Like, for example, if we talk about hospitals, you have the doctors who are probably, and nurses, the cornerstone of your business, but on average, they are so not technical as individuals. And you have the IT department in the hospital, but who are probably far away from the day-to-day industry of healthcare that they serve within that hospital or organization. Now, both of them, the doctors and nurses, and even the IT people, will be affected by an AI adoption or transformation in that hospital, because a doctor might be able to diagnose 10 times more patients with the support of AI systems in the future. So you will need to upskill those staff, the doctors and the nurses, to be able to understand and run these AI systems. And at the same time, even for the IT staff, probably you're going to be able to do much more, run much more systems, much more complex things within that hospital infrastructure with the same staff. But not all of them will have the same skill levels to really deal with and leverage these kind of next generation AI-based technologies that might be there in an IT department in a hospital in the future. So these things are shaping, innovations are happening. So the way that department looks today might be so different from how it will look in 5 years or 10 years. So you need clear programs to upskill and maybe reskill certain individuals within your organization. But you need to identify those individuals, you need to identify these skill gaps, and you need to decide how you're going to bridge them, how you're going to take your people from point A to point B. I believe uniquely tailored for the individual, and today I think we have AI systems that enable you to do that or start doing that in your organization. And this is so interesting that one of the points that came from the UAE case study is that from surveys, only 37% of UAE companies, and again, I will remind you that UAE is heavily invested in AI. So only 37% of these businesses reported that they have high AI talent readiness. So the vast majority of businesses, even in the UAE, highly invested in AI, say they haven't achieved yet that high-level AI talent readiness within their organization. So that definitely is an interesting intake. Now, governance and ethics is a big topic. I'll just go through it briefly because this is something we can spend hours and hours talking through. But this is, I believe, something that needs to be broader than just a corporate. Now, corporate commitments to these values is definitely something I recommend, but this has to be broader. This has to be a regulation from the government where the company operates. UAE is a really bright example on that. And when I say regulation, it doesn't necessarily have to mean that it is something that actually slows innovation. It could enable innovation, but do it in a way that maintains safety and ethics when businesses are adopting this technology. So here in this pillar, we talk about responsible AI frameworks and steering committees within the organization to really critique everything and look at everything as it happens from the lens of safety and ethics. bias detection and fairness considerations. AI models are as biased as the data we feed them or the humans that train them. So we need to be conscious to the unconscious bias we might be feeding to these models that we train. And then we're going to have a regulatory compliance process. How do we take a project from an idea to inception? It has to go through a process where we have people to assess every angle of it: financial, operational, impacts, privacy, ethical, safety, whatever is there. We have to take it through that process, maybe through a committee that eventually decides if this is something that really brings value to the business. We can do it safely. It will not bring more issues than benefits. And this is something that the whole organization can stand behind and support and sponsor as it goes through implementation. And then, as usual, accountability is a very important part in these conversations when it comes to corporate. We need to have clear accountability to the AI decisions that are being taken into the organization. Some people might make rash and wrong decisions as we adopt artificial intelligence. I will not tell you that everything will be perfect out there. Someone might see trivial benefits out of a system and then make a sweeping decision to get rid of people. They might and probably will regret that down the line. But we need people to be accountable for any decision they make towards adopting a system, rejecting a system, or even how they deal with the impact of such system within that organization. That's a leadership conversation that needs to be had in any corporate, I believe, about how do we handle this new technology that is changing so fast every day, and how do we really make sane decisions, and more importantly, how do we make them fast on the go? Because I think corporates will have to do decision making much faster than it happens today, because the technology is shifting in a speed that I think we've never seen before in the business world. So that's something to keep in mind. And eventually, again, one of the things that I picked up part of researching the topic is that only 35% of executives are familiar with global data privacy standards. And I'll have to raise my hand. I was one of them. When I looked at this statistic, I know about the importance of data privacy, but I am not so familiar with a standard of data privacy, and it will be something that I will spend time to learn, because I believe it is simply my responsibility to educate myself in this area, being a corporate person, and probably at some point I'll be either contributing, driving, or influencing AI implementation within maybe my department or function. So I have the responsibility to learn about data privacy and the standards that are out there, that maybe not to the technical level of understanding that standard, but just enough for me to know what it means really in terms of implementation to maintain privacy in a corporate like the one I work for. Last but not least, it is culture and change management. And AI created this image for me, and I think it's really telling. It feels sometimes for so many people that artificial intelligence is that warp that is actually pulling them away from their careers, that will take their livelihood away. No one knows, honestly. I keep saying I'm one of these people that are skeptical, but more on the positive side of artificial intelligence. I hope I'm right and not wrong. But to do these things in a corporate or in a business and implement it and be ready really to adopt it and use it within your organization, you need to change the culture. You need to modify the culture at least, because you might be already a tech company or a company that encourages innovation, but you have to reinforce that if you're already there. If you're not there, you have to switch towards innovation. So you need an innovation culture and then a data-driven mindset, because data is the new fuel of these AI systems. In one of the recent podcasts that OpenAI did, they were mentioning that people need to know that compute is not the bottleneck anymore in the world of artificial intelligence. It's actually data, and it's actually good quality data, and it's actually our ability in the efficiency of getting these models to learn from the same data. So data is very important. The mindset around data is very important. And then we need effective change management within our organization for doing these kind of shifts towards an AI-enabled organization or AI-ready corporate. So we need to work with the people to be part of that change, not to be on the receiving end, as I said before. You need them to rally with you and not just, hey, this is a system, you're going to work with it. Either you like it or not, this is a fact of your work today. It doesn't work that way. I think corporates will do this differently, and we're going to see a lot out there. But I believe the wise business today will be driving that cultural change, that change management from the ground up, from day one, explaining it could be scary to people. And I think it's always okay to say that you don't know how this will look, but also say it's important enough and needed enough for the survival of the business. And it could be at one point for us collectively to adopt this new technology and leverage it to our benefit and creating way more value to our customers as individuals or businesses. And the bet will be by the whole organization is that everyone will benefit from it. Potentially people can have a better work-life balance while still getting value in terms of paychecks and in terms of the value the company is generating to the market. So all of these things are possible at the same time, but we have to rally people around them and we have to take them along the way with us so we can go far. And also we need to get much better quickly at communication, training our people and transitioning or transforming with them. You're going to change a lot of things on the long run. Maybe on the short run, switches are slow, but I think with time, they will be much faster and it will not be optional. That's a potential, that's a possibility. So we need to train our people, get them ready before we even discuss AI readiness for the corporate level. We need the people to be ready before we really start talking corporate AI readiness. So that's definitely something that you have to start working on or at least thinking about today. And then finally, the way we operate today, the silos that might be there in many corporates, they cannot go for longer. Artificial intelligence will break all of these silos, and I believe it will cut through all of these silos. And at some point, we have to communicate much better as humans to be able to understand that what I'm doing here in my department or my function or my region and the data I'm feeding to that artificial intelligence system probably is affecting someone else in the same corporate, maybe way around the planet at a different location or continent. And our ability to deal with this scale of technology comes with really much better communication, facilitated across the technology by people, number one, but then by technology, obviously. And also the change that should happen, we are all continuously learning. AI changes a lot. What we're talking about today in terms of AI technology could be totally different in 2 years. I keep reminding people, the whole thing started 2 years ago. It feels like 20 years ago. It actually started as a mainstream thing 2 years ago. And if you look back up about how many innovations already happened, how many changes, how many new technologies came to the market, it's really mind-boggling. And it will become faster and faster as we go. So learning is not a one-time thing. Learning and relearning is a daily thing. I do it when it comes to artificial intelligence to give you that content, and I enjoy it as well. But I think in corporates, it has to be part of the culture. So, okay, we spent lots of time on the pillars, and it's for a good reason. We need to understand these pillars really well for us to really start going about corporate AI readiness. How do we start? The first thing that you need to do is assess where you stand today as a business or a corporate. What's your baseline? And this is why, if you stick around, I will show you the self-assessment checklist, the SMART self-assessment checklist. So we need to know where do we stand today in terms of AI readiness. Do we have the human element in terms of readiness? Do we have the infrastructure? Do we have the leadership support? Do we have the ethical and privacy standards? And so forth. We need to know where we stand today. The second step is we need to set a strategy. We need to understand the vision of our business. Today we know where we stand, but we want to know where we want to go. So where we're at today and where we want to be in the future and when in the future. And then we need to start identifying even pilot projects, things we want to start with. Maybe and potentially low-hanging fruit type of things that gets us going when it comes to artificial intelligence adoption within our organization, things that we can use to learn and experiment with the technology and adopting it within our organization. But we need to have a very clear vision. Where do you want to be in the future when it comes to adoption of artificial intelligence, how it will bring value to us, and how will that contribute to our business goals? Once we know where we're at, where we're going, we can start taking action. So one of the top actions we have to start, we said foundationally, this is technical in terms of technology that we're trying to adopt. So we have to strengthen the data that we have. We need high quality data. We need to make sure it is collected in a proper way through data lakes. Also, we need to make sure that it's scalable to a level that we can maintain that high level and deep management of our databases across all the systems and the locations where it's hosted. And also within the same level of taking actions and making decisions around the infrastructure and data, we need also to start talking talent. Do we have the proper talent? Do we have the skill sets? Do we know the gaps? Shall we assess the gaps? And how do we bridge those gaps ahead of going really where we get real implementation requirement on the ground when it comes to artificial intelligence? So all of this, including the infrastructure and the talent, should be something part of the first layer of actions that an organization does after having a clear goal and strategy for the business. And then, as we said a minute ago, we need that pilot. We need to get the taste of artificial intelligence, and we need to get our confidence in really strategizing in AI projects, implementing AI projects, and really critiquing or getting the benefit of these AI projects and recording those learnings of doing the whole project. We need our pilots in line from priority, complexity, impact, and ease. We need to look at all of elements when you consider what pilot you want to push forward, what pilot you want to delay. So we need that very clear decisions early on so we can start implementing and start the learning process and the change management process of our organization. The more people see these projects running, the more they're involved in it or feel part of it or that journey, the easier that change management will be. And last but not least, once you run your first couple of pilots, things are going well, people are celebrating the results, people see the benefit that this has bear on their day-to-day life and the business, they feel the business is stronger, more secure, so their job in turn is more secure, then we can start looking at embedding this as part of the culture and scaling artificial intelligence as part of the new way of doing business, the new systems that we have as an organization. So we can start scaling this technology across the corporate, I would always say with care, but definitely consistently until we achieve our goals where we think we need to be as a corporate in terms of AI adoption and readiness. Now, before I go to the self-assessment checklist, which is something worthwhile every minute of wait, believe me, I want just to quickly glance across the case study I did around the United Arab Emirates. Now, I live here, so I see all of these things I will talk about around me, and I was always impressed because I talk about artificial intelligence. I always was impressed of how the United Arab Emirates government, first and foremost, and then the corporate, private, and government entities are adopting artificial intelligence supported by the government, and the way they are doing it in a very structured, laser-focused manner. I think it's a specimen that really everyone should look into, should study and learn from. And the whole intent here is just to give you an idea about it, that there are already models that you can follow and that you can study and look at and maybe replicate. This case study is just to get you excited about artificial intelligence and its potential. Let's quickly glance at this case study. Maybe I will give you some inspiration. So the UAE was the first country that actually appointed an AI minister. And they did that in 2017, which was the same year Google came out with Attention's All You Need paper, which changed everything in the world of artificial intelligence. And he is still the same Minister of AI in UAE. So UAE did this the first country. They've seen where this is going potentially. They've seen ahead of time, I would say. And then they decided quickly, we need to establish a ministry that will empower and fast track this technology within the United Arab Emirates. And they've done that. And then they put the strategy. So probably, doing that, they already assessed where UAE stands as a country when it comes to artificial intelligence. and they wanted to bridge that big gap from their ambition to where they stood in 2017. Now they're far ahead from that. And after that, they put a national strategy for AI in 2031. So they have a clear goal where they want to go. So all of these are part of what we discussed in the pillars. So they know where they stand, they know where they want to go. They have a minister as part of the government, basically executive branch of the government, that will drive all of these projects or enable the private and the public sectors to really go fast and do things at a high pace, high quality kind of approach, laser focused approach. And it's worthwhile to mention that when it comes to the Arab world, obviously they are ranked number 1 when it comes to AI and 12th globally. And this is based on 2024. I honestly would question that. I don't know why. I genuinely believe, and this is not something I actually took from an official kind of study. I genuinely believe they are top 5 globally. They had their own model, and at some point it was one of the top 10 AI models out there. Maybe it's not the case today, but since the beginning, they were always ahead of the curve. And I genuinely believe today, if there's really a study that is to be done, UAE will be ranked probably one of the top 5 countries globally when it comes to artificial intelligence. Again, this is my probably biased kind of ranking of the country, but the scale of things that they're doing when it comes to artificial intelligence is something out of this world. And they project, again, these are public resources claiming these things, but they project, and even if this is part of their plan, honestly it's good to have aggressive plan, but they project and they plan to have AI contribute to $91 billion to their GDP by 2031. So they have really ambitious plans when it comes to artificial intelligence and its role to the local economy of the United Arab Emirates. Now, some of the stuff we talked about in the pillars that already and for some time UAE government has them. They have a national program for AI called BRAIN, and they have the UAE AI office. They have a council for AI and blockchain. Also, they have AI ethics guidelines, data protection laws already implemented in the United Arab Emirates. And also they have a university, it's a government university dedicated for the education and the skill development of artificial intelligence. It's Mohammed bin Zayed University of AI. And this is again ahead of its time. It's not a university that they're working or planning to establish. It's already there. It's already generating knowledge, skills, and learnings when it comes to the state of the art technologies that we have within artificial intelligence today. And in one of the publications, they mentioned that they plan to train 1 million residents in AI. Basically, they want the population of United Arab Emirates, locals and residents, to be AI literate. I'm one probably who doesn't need that education, but everything you see here is just, if you go back to the pillars, you see there's a certain sequence of what UAE is doing as a country. They are driving towards AI literacy, AI readiness, skill, talent, culture. They're investing in privacy and security. They're putting legislation, laws around the security and privacy of information and artificial intelligence systems. They're building that foundation that at some point will get UAE to scale as a country when it comes to AI, making it, again, I'm pretty sure at one point, if not already, one of the top 5 countries in the world when it comes to the world of artificial intelligence. Definitely one of the top 2 or 3 in Asia, and obviously the number 1 country in the Middle East. Now, if you search online when it comes to implementation and programs that are enabled by the government, that are running in both the private sector and the public sector in different industries, you will find plenty of them. Now, I just looked through some of them. I will highlight high-level ones that I read online just by doing an AI-based research. And you can see that the banking and finance sector is doing a lot. Emirates MBD, which is a local bank, has hired 70 plus data scientists as per one resource. They have their AI chatbot Ava, and also they achieved with artificial intelligence 5 to 7x ROI. Also, we have Rackbank, which created the Rackbot that reduced the call wait times for their customers by 50%. All of these, you can read more actually, even within the banking and finance. These are just things that caught my eye. Government and energy, Diwa, so they have Ramas. I actually logged into the app today just to check it. I used the app, but I never looked at Ramas, so it was an impressive experience. So Ramas is an AI agent that you can engage with through text or audio, and it already received about 9.6 million inquiries, and it achieved 95% satisfaction rate from the customers. So that's a big deal. You can go there, ask anything about your account, get help, and it's super fast, on the spot. You don't need to wait on a phone call like we used to do and get someone to help you. Ramas will help you in real time. Second is AdNoc, which is by itself a case study. So AdNoc, through things like AIQ, G42, all of these are government entities here in the United Arab Emirates, actually more into Abu Dhabi as an emirate. And they are innovating, and innovating is, I think, an understatement. They are investing, they're putting their money where their mouth is when it comes to AI. They're creating their own system, their own technology that they started selling outwards to other government and maybe energy sectors outside of the United Arab Emirates, where it brings efficiency to the oil and gas industry. And in one source, I read that they are talking about already creating $500 million value in 2023 already by leveraging some of these systems. So that's all interesting, and you can read more about it online. And they're talking about, in general, 25% production capacity increase in leveraging these AI systems and 1 million tons of emission reductions. So they're using it towards sustainability, they're using it towards optimization and efficiency. So a lot is being already done in UAE when it comes to leveraging such a technology for the betterment of the world in general and the society we live in. And also there are so many other examples that I will not cover, but you can just go online, do a search on Google or use something like Perplexity, and you will get lots of case studies in UAE for companies in private or public sector of how they leverage AI, and they do a lot with it. And there's lots of success and inspiration into these stories if you spend the time to read through them. Now, although UAE has that focus, they know they have challenges. And that's really positive to see that they are acknowledging the challenges that is ahead of them. Now, some of these stats we already covered, but I'll just go quickly through them. So they think they have a talent gap in terms of artificial intelligence that needs to be filled. Probably they refer here to the private and public sectors. They're talking about the data and infrastructure that they have. And again, some of the surveys report that 63% they have moderately ready IT departments or IT infrastructure. So they acknowledge that they are still not there when it comes to infrastructure readiness. Also, they talk openly about the regulatory navigation. This is an evolving landscape. It's not something that you can set in paper today and say, this is the regulation, and just go and carry on with developing systems. These things have implications that are evolving day by day, and you need to be agile in really doing your regulation and modifying your regulation and keeping pace with the regulation accordingly. So that's a great thing to see a government like the UAE just acknowledging as a challenge. And then organizational readiness. So they acknowledge that readiness is a challenge, that integration of that technology into these organizations is an issue, and that there is resistance. Again, this addresses back to one of the pillars of change management. There is resistance happening with some organization, with some people, but I think probably part of the natural tendency of humans to resist change, but definitely there's a big part because the way that adoption is happening, the way that transformation is happening, is not taking into consideration a well-structured change management approach. Now, there are lessons to learn from the UAE case study. Again, you will have lots about it in the free documents I will give you. If you're interested, look into them. But the top lessons I really think are important to highlight here. You need to balance technical capability with the organizational factor that we talked about humans, infrastructure, systems, and even policies around privacy. You need leadership commitment. This is critical. As you've seen, UAE from day one, they put a minister dedicated for artificial intelligence, and we can see the impact. You can really feel the impact of this early decision and how it propagates across how UAE is really doing really well, ahead of so many other countries today when it comes to AI, just because of these quick and early actions and the support from the leadership. Start with high impact and feasible use cases. So start where it matters. So we've seen the cases that they went after as a government, at least things that has to do with sustainability and things has to do with the energy sector, where they are a big contributor towards. Invest in foundations while pursuing quick wins. So work your way from the ground up. Do it for the long run, but also go for the low-hanging fruits that we mentioned multiple times. This will help the people working with those corporates, those organizations, to really have a positive, upbeat approach toward the technology as they see the wins pile up, and then create virtuous cycles of success. So celebrate the successes, have confidence, and then invest into the technology furthermore. And if you look at many of the case studies in the United Arab Emirates, you're going to see this is a theme. When they do something right, they're going to celebrate it, they're going to show it to the world. Even sometimes a success could be something that you might view as a failure, but it's something that they tried, maybe no one else tried, and then that gets people excited usually, and then it builds the confidence of the country, of the people, that they can do something that probably others didn't do yet. So it's a really interesting case study to look at and observe going forward. So it's not a one-time thing. I think people need to observe the UAE when it comes to artificial intelligence and look closely at what they're doing and maybe learn from it. Now, let's go to the interesting part. I will take you now to the self-assessment. I will show you quickly how it works. I will show you other things that I'm going to give you for free. But for the assessment, I'm going to show you how you can make it your own. This is open for everyone. I will not limit you to what I will give you, but what I will give you is ready to publish, ready to show people, ready to ask people to fill and get the intelligence out of it. But really what I'm addressing in the self-assessment, is AI explicitly part of your strategic planning? Are you really having it as a goal or a strategy to achieve business goals today? Do you have quality data? So it's assessing your data and infrastructure as you stand today. So it could be something that you ask your IT to support you in filling or contributing to answering these kind of questions in the questionnaire or the self-assessment. Can you attract and retain skill? Can you get the top skill when it comes to artificial intelligence, especially if you're in a competing environment like the US or in China, where demand is very high, or UAE itself, where demand is very high for AI skill? Do you have processes to govern AI and actually manage it in an ethical and responsible manner? So these are things you need to be able to answer. And also, do you have the culture? Are you culture ready? Do you have the thought process about change management and how you do such a transformation within your organization to adopt artificial intelligence? All of these things, the self-assessment will assess, and it will give us a result and actions that we can take within our small business to huge corporate, to start at least considering or looking at moving forward, so we can really be AI ready and start the adoption journey of artificial intelligence for our business. Okay, so this is the organizational AI readiness assessment, and you will have part of the folder that you will get out of this video. You will have this file as an HTML file. You can open it in text, feed it to an AI model, and ask it to change it for you. If you want to change the color theme, if you want to add questions, you can do all of that. And actually, I will give you in the document. So if you open, let's say, the Corporate AI Readiness Manual, this is a full manual, full reading material that will dig really deep in all of the areas we covered in this video. But at the end, I will give you the artifact link of Claude. So I created this page on Claude, and Claude can create those public URL links as an artifact. So you can go there, click this link, it will actually take you back to this page. The amazing thing about that is that you can take that code that developed this page on the artifact on Claude, and you can ask Claude again on your side to change things for you. So for example, I hope you don't do that, but you can ask it to create the branding for my name and my channel and make it your own. And by all means, you have my approval to do that if this is something you want to do. I don't care if you keep my branding. I would love to share it with my branding if you believe I deserve the kind of the marketing to get more people to follow my channel, but you can do with it what you wish. And then here you have an explainer. If you want to share this with others, maybe other departments within your company, or share it with friends, there's an explainer about each section, and we touch the 5 pillars that I took as a middle point of all of these frameworks that are out there. And you can have very easy questions to answer. And under each pillar, so here we have, for example, strategy and leadership. We have questions that are easily answered on a scale of none to excellent. Again, this is judging where the business department or organization stand when it comes to this specific area. For example, here, AI strategy alignment when it comes to artificial intelligence readiness. So what you do is basically you go through this and you fill it up with colleague or yourself, or maybe asking others the question who are more into the area of the assessment itself. So here, for example, you might call up your IT colleague to answer these or help you answer these, and you can keep answering these questions. And again, you can add to them through the code itself, and you can see it's interactive. It's really visually nice. I think I did a good job there. I think I deserve a subscription if you're still watching. And you can click all of that, complete the assessment, and by the end you can calculate AI readiness score. You hit calculate, you will get a score, and that score will also come with recommendations or how you're assessed and what you need to do in terms of actions. So this is like a real interactive, full-fledged kind of AI readiness corporate checklist that you can use not only to assess where you stand, but also to have quick and early actions that you or your organization or your department can take or start taking today towards AI adoption and AI readiness. So again, everything here you will get for free. Everything in this folder you will get for free. So you have access to the slide deck I showed you, you have access to the manual, you have access to the mind maps that are huge, detailed if you want to spend time to really learn all the intricacies of the AI readiness or corporate AI readiness topic. And you have the case study as well, and you have the self-assessment checklist. So I understand this is a long episode, but I had a lot to unpack, and I think 1 to 2 hours, I don't know how it will end, how long it will end this episode. It is a worthwhile time invested by you to learn this topic and then take it to your business and probably be the smartest person in that room where the next time a discussion or a conversation happens around corporate AI readiness, and if you are ready as an organization, team, or department to adopt artificial intelligence. So I hope you've seen the value that this video at least aims to bring. And if you've seen that and you think you got something out of it, do not forget to share it with others. The more we get people to benefit, the more I think this is for the collective good. And also don't forget to like the video, comment on it, subscribe to my channel if you're new to it. All of these things are things that keep me smiling a little bit and encourage me to keep doing this content for you, which I love doing, and I love engaging with the audience and the community I've created so far for this small channel. And with this, thank you very much for watching and giving me your time, and goodbye.
Subscribe to Daddy's channel. Give me the mic.